Season 4, Episode 10 of College Basketball Review Courtside. On with us today is Matt Langel, the head coach of Colgate men's basketball. Year after year, the Raiders just continue to be one of the top teams in mid-major basketball. Once again, the one seed in the Patriot League. Coach, we're going to get into all of this. First off, how you doing today? Another week.
Yeah, doing great. That time of the year where you're kind of head down, focused on the next day, the next opportunity.
100%. You guys have obviously been firing away, coming off a loss last night to American, of course. So I know you're going to get back in the lab today, ending a 12-game win streak. And I guess that's kind of where we'll start is, you did put together one of the top winning streaks in the country so far this season. Just how did you get your guys to buy in at a crucial time during conference play?
Yeah, I think as you get to this time of the year, we're fortunate as coaches here at Colgate. We've got some veteran guys, and they had some veteran guys ahead of them. So we've been through this before. They know the value of every opportunity, as cliche as it sounds. And the streak just happens because they were really locked in and focused on the next chance, the next opportunity, staying together. There were some injuries, some illness, a number of different guys stepped up along the way. And next thing you know, you've won a number of games in a row. But again, it was not the first time that we have done this. We've had some really good Februaries over the years. So I think that the veteran group, as much as coaches talk about what you need to be focused on, when you have some leadership and some veterans who can provide that, in the locker room and on the court, and then it can happen a little bit easier.
It's the old adage, sometimes a loss can help a team. Do you look at it that way, losing to American yesterday on your home court, especially with 2 road games coming up before conference tournament play, or are you not looking at that at all and you're like, nah, we want to keep the streak going?
Yeah, I mean, you never want to lose. I think you're constantly searching to learn and grow and improve your team as a coach. And so, sometimes losing can offer that to a group. We certainly didn't play our best. American played great. I think it smacks you in the face a little bit as far as like, hey, not only did we lose, we lost at home. And so, we have 2 guys left over from the group that got upset in the championship game right before COVID shut down the world to Boston University a number of years ago. So, maybe a small reminder that if we're not sharp, we can be left with a pretty bad taste. But yeah, two hard games to finish the season, and you certainly don't want to go in the other direction either, right? You want to finish strong, and the team that represents the Patriot League in the NCAA Tournament is going to be the team that's playing its best in March, and so that's where we need to get to. I hopefully we can bounce back well off of that defeat and get back to playing well.
But of course, still, Coach, 14-2 in conference, a chance to have one of your best conference records since you've been the coach at Colgate. You guys have had a lot of them, but certainly this one right up there at the top. What has changed for this team? It feels like you might not have the firepower, that scoring firepower, with maybe an individual that you've had in the past, but you have a lot of guys. This is a deep team, and you guys are winning basketball games. So what's the difference of this year's squad?
I think if you look back over the last handful of years, especially, a lot of our experience, our oldest players, the guys who played the most minutes, were backcourt guys. And, you look last year, Lynch Daniels led the country in 3-point shooting. Tucker Richardson was player of the year in the conference, had the ball in his hands a lot. Before him, Nelly Cummings, Jack Ferguson, Jordan Burns. There are a lot of guys who, were perimeter players. And now I think our experience, in some ways, our best strength is inside. Well, the game's played a little bit different when you're most experienced, and the ball's going to flow through bigger guys. And we have some talented young guys, as you mentioned, some great depth to this roster. Braden Smith has had an incredible season, but he's only a sophomore. And so, I think that's a little bit different than what we've been in the past. And, our defense has kind of been our calling card. It can travel. I think when you talk about the consistency of what we've been able to do, I think we've had some great shooting nights. We've had some great individual performances, but, our defense has been one of our strong suits, and that's where we think we need to be moving forward.
Do you think that's going to help you when you reach, if you are fortunate enough to win the Patriot League again and reach the NCAA tournament? I know that in the past, your offense has always been the talking point. I mean, this team can shoot threes you guys can light up the court, but sometimes the defense hasn't held its own. Was that maybe a change you wanted to make this year? Is it just the roster makeup? Like what goes into that?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think our offense has been really good, as you mentioned, but the area you can improve, like if your offense is up here, you can only make so little improvements. But if you can get your defense a little bit closer, then maybe you can have an off shooting night here and there and still find ways to compete. But it's also personnel. I mean, we are a bigger team. We are, we are a longer team. We have, some positional size at some different points, which allows us to do some things defensively, maybe that we weren't able to do in the past. We're also a little bit deeper. And so, you don't have to rest or conserve your energy. Some guys can get after a little bit more on the defensive end. And so I think it's a combination, like most things, of both of those qualities, the intentionality of the defense improving, but also, the roster makeup and who we are and who's playing in the games.
Again, Matt Langel here with us on College Basketball Review Courtside, head coach of the Colgate Raiders. Coach, you've been in Hamilton for quite some time, but year 7 to me looked like the difference. 6 straight losing seasons, and since then you haven't had a losing season since. That was your first winning season at Colgate. Was there something that changed there? Was it a coaching philosophy? Was it a player? Like what seemed to turn around this program into the dominant Patriot League program that you are today?
It's a good question. And if you, and not the first time that we've gotten it, I think if you look back over the history, that's naturally where you would point to as the turning point, just looking at the stats. But stats don't always paint the full picture. We've got 2 guys on our staff right now, Damon Sherman Newsom and Pat Moore. I think their last year was 2015, but it was year 4. We finished in 2nd place in the Patriot League. And so we didn't have a winning record, and the stats don't point to that as the turning point. We got upset in the semifinals, and so there's no banners or nothing to recognize that, we had arrived. But I think the culture was in place, right? The building blocks, and we did have a lot of seniors on that team. And then, we took us a couple more years for that next group to kind of get old and get over the hump. And we did have some key players. I mean, Will Raymond, Jordan Burns, Raplis Ivanauskas was a transfer from Northwestern that really helped us get over the top. But I think that culture was in place after year 4. We had a winning season in the league. We were kind of knocking on the door. I think maybe we were even a free throw away of being tied for the regular season and having a regular season championship to our name. But it's so fragile. Like, again, the players were young, and we took a couple steps backwards the next couple of years and needed to learn some lessons. But, a lot of people say year 7 was a year. For me, it was year 4 that we kind of proved that, we had something that we could build on, and then we just had to get the right pieces back again in order to get over the hump. And, to the coach's credit, we've been able to do that, and the guys have invested, and more guys have come because of it. And so, hopefully we can keep this thing going indefinitely.
Coach, you make that first NCAA tournament appearance, though. You guys have had 4 now in your tenure at Colgate. That game against Tennessee, one that stands out to me. A little bit of story time for me here. My mom is from a place where a lot of these listeners aren't going to know the name of it, but she's from Norwich, New York. That should stand out to you. We're watching Selection Sunday. We see Colgate. Obviously you get your seed, you get your matchup, and you get Tennessee. And not only do you get Tennessee, but you really take them down to the wire. It was a 7-point game. You had a chance to win that game. What was going through your mind, that being your first tournament appearance as a head coach, and the fact that you guys almost pulled off a monumental upset?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things in the moment. I'd been fortunate enough to be an assistant coach and a player in the NCAA tournament, so I knew the magnitude, and I was so excited for all the people that were experiencing it here at Colgate, and not just our student athletes, but obviously the most for them, but our other coaches and our athletic department and the institution. We're a small, as with your mom from Norwich, we're a small school here in rural upstate New York. So it was a big deal. And then for our alumni base, people with Colgate degrees across the country were super excited about, being a part of March Madness. I think as a coach, you're playing Tennessee. They're one of the best teams in the country, the future NBA players and, Hall of Fame coach. And so you've been a part of these games and watched games your whole life on TV. They can go in a lot of different ways, right? And so, I think what you hope is that it can be a great experience. For me, that game, there was a great crowd. Sometimes these venues, the crowds aren't that large for first round games. And, as the underdog, everybody except the Tennessee people are starting to root for you. So there's an energy and an excitement. And, Raplis Ivanauskas was player of the year in our conference for us that year, but he had an eye issue, so he wasn't able to play. So, we had to throw some zone, and Jordan Burns had an incredible game. I think he had 32 points and just couldn't miss from downtown and kind of kept us in the game. So certainly something that I think a lot of people will remember for a long, long time, but a cool experience to be in the game and to have our guys kind of knocking on the door and have that crowd behind us. And again, kind of have a lot of people be proud of Colgate basketball.
100%, and obviously a lot to be proud of over those 4 appearances as well. It seems like every year you guys make the tournament, though, not only are you playing one of the top seeds, but you seem to always play one of the top programs in college basketball. Are you hoping for something different this year if you do make it? I mean, like, is there like a thought process that goes into Selection Sunday? I'm sure you have a list of teams that you would prefer to play, or am I totally off there?
Yeah, I just prefer to play. If you can, it's so hard, and there's so many good coaches and programs and players out there. I mean, I know countless people who have been super successful, in terms of this profession. Like Kyle Smith was the coach at Columbia for a number of years, and we had some epic battles. And then he went to San Francisco, and now he's, kind of led Washington State to an incredible season. And he's never coached in the NCAA tournament as a head coach, as good of a coach as he is. So, yeah, I know that, coming from the Patriot League, if we are able to take care of business and do what, achieve that goal as well, we're going to play a really good team. And there's a reason that you're often playing a really good program is because the really good programs are often the really good teams on any given year. And so, yeah, no matter who you play, you're going to play somebody that's really good, that's, positioned themselves really well as one of the best teams in the country. And, we worry about it then Selection Sunday and thereafter. Again, right now our focus is on our next regular season game and finishing this thing as well as we can.
Yeah, 100%. 2 more games for you guys to close out the regular season before Patriot League play begins. Again, Matt Langel here with us on CBB Review Courtside. Almost done today, but do have a hot button question or two for you. Again, 68 teams in the field for the NCAA tournament, but there's been a lot of talk about expansion. Do you have your own thoughts on expansion? Should the field be expanded? I've heard 96 thrown around. I think that personally is a little bit too much, but is this something that's close to your heart, or are you not really worried about the state of where the tournament may go?
Man, nobody's asking my opinion, so it doesn't really matter other than you. But yeah, I mean, I think the times have changed. The level of play has kids everywhere are to me, compared to when I played, are further along in their games. I don't, the magnitude of the NCAA tournament, it's incredible with what it is. But I wouldn't be opposed to expanding it a little bit more and getting some more matchups. What I don't want to have happen, and obviously we're at a small school, I don't want to get rid of, the Cinderella story. So, I don't want, all the automatic qualifiers to kind of eliminate each other early on and to not have those chances of having a team kind of, Florida Atlantic last year, but so many teams in the past of kind of catching lightning in a bottle. So, I'm not opposed to expanding it. I don't want to water it down too much to where teams that were mediocre, maybe in their own conference or had very average seasons, all of a sudden get a chance to participate and maybe do something special. I think the tournament and the reward to play in March Madness should be reserved for those who have achieved at a pretty high level. But again, I'm if more people can experience what our program has been able to, I think that'd be awfully cool too.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest gripe is, it's funny. I've got some buddies that, they'll go through the list of teams and they'll list off, oh, maybe about 15 or 20 teams are good this year. I'm like, hey, you're a UConn fan. Of course you're going to think that when you're comparing them to the Huskies. In my mind, there are at least 100 good teams in college basketball, but the NCAA tournament, again, you got to reserve it. You got to keep it special for the teams that deserve to make there. Coach, before I let you go, it's been tossed around a lot, and I'm not going to ask you, your next move. I just want to know, you've been at Colgate for over a decade. I'm sure people have come calling. What keeps you at Colgate? What keeps you at this place? How special is it to you?
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Matt. I think that when I got into college coaching, the reason I did so was I had some coaches who had impacted my life. And so, yes, we had won a championship and experienced some great things, but I learned some really valuable life lessons from those coaches. And so, while I got to acknowledge that it's a profession and a significant profession and a cutthroat profession that I've chosen to be a part of, I also love the purity of being on a campus where you get to coach legitimate student athletes, guys who go to class and are extremely intelligent and are passionate about something in addition to the basketball that they're pursuing. Colgate's been a tremendous place for me and my family. The opportunities they've given us, you alluded to, it took 7 years. In this landscape, a lot of day and age, or today's day and age, even if you do well in year four, as I mentioned, you go backwards in year 5 and 6, and you might not have an opportunity anymore. So Colgate's an incredible academic community. It's a great place to raise a family. I've got 3 wonderful young children, and so there's a lot of things that we really value by being here, by being a part of this community, by being a part of this institution and the program that we've been able to help build.
And Coach, I'm sure that Colgate fans do not want you to go anywhere. Thank you for your time today, Coach, and good luck the rest of the season as well.
All right, Matt, take care.
All right, and for everyone else listening at home, just thanks again for listening, and let us know who you want to hear next time on College Basketball Review Courtside.